And welcome into the Tuesday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping for homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Hope everybody's off to a wonderful start on this Tuesday morning. Joe Rexrode, how are you? What's going on?
I'm okay, a little tired because I'm sure you guys are the same as me. Stayed up pretty late for I think the game of the year so far in college basketball last night.
Oh, yeah? What game was that?
Houston, Iowa State. Incredible game. And Iowa State, I mean, Houston probably is a 1 seed if they win that game. Houston, I think I'm kind of drifting toward I think Houston might win the whole thing. But Iowa State got the huge win. Fantastic game. Went a little late.
Yep. Houston already been down once by Tennessee this year. They can be downed again by Tennessee.
That's a hell of a win on that resume.
Sure is. Ian, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Yeah, missed that one last night. Iowa State's been in some big games this past week and a half or so, huh?
Yeah. I mean, the Big 12 has 5 of the top 10 teams. The Big 10 has, 5 of the top, 13, 14, but yeah, the Big 12 in particular, it's the best league this year. It's not the SEC of last year because that was the best league ever, but it's amazing this year. We should talk more Big 12 hoops.
Yeah, I
didn't
the
fifth best basketball league this year.
Saw some highlights.
I'd say third, strong third. You saw some highlights.
Yeah, I saw some highlights last night. Should have probably tuned in for more. I guess Houston's still physical team playing that same kind of style, huh?
Yes, but they have Kingston Flemings. I think is good enough to be. He's not going to be because AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, those guys. Kingston Flemings is like a number 1 pick in most years. They're freshman point guard, and then Chris Sinak, they're freshman big. So they brought in these freshmen to go with these veterans, and they're tough and gritty like always. But Kingston Flemings, man, he might be as fun a player to watch as there is, and there's a ton of options there, but he's truly incredible. Some NBA franchise, and they're all tanking for any of these guys.
Yes. They're
just tanking galore. There's a good year to tank. Whoever gets Kingston Flemings, he is going to be I think a star and a winner big time in the NBA.
Is Houston as
Mark
good
my words
as Austin Peay? Because I saw Austin Peay in person over this weekend. Let me tell you, they're good.
Yeah, I would say they might be a little better.
Probably not.
But, it's funny because Houston, 2 seed right now.
Sure.
And Austin Peay's, I have them as a 15 in today's a big bracket.
Might find out.
Yep, yet another shameless plug from Joe Rexrode.
That's right. So, yeah, we actually might see that game. That game could actually happen.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I smell a little middle Michigan State upset brewing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there you go. You never
Get
know.
the Governors in there. Let's go.
Do it.
Speaking of, in all seriousness, and I have it in my bracket this week, and it needs to happen, and both of these programs need to be – I know we're going to talk about these programs today on the show. They need to be shamed. Tennessee and Vanderbilt, It's absolutely embarrassing that they don't play Belmont, especially Vanderbilt. They're 5 seconds away from you. Belmont can't get high majors to schedule them. They cannot get them. I got Belmont as a 12, Tennessee as a 5. I'm putting it with one of those teams, damn it. They are going to play them. And I would not want to mess with Belmont right now. I would not want to mess with Belmont.
There'll be a lot of teams from around here in the NCAA tournament, I think.
No, I mean, I actually am starting to look at that because, it could be a record.
Yeah.
If you get – because TSU's got a shot here. TSU has a shot. And so then you'd be talking about TSU, Belmont, Vanderbilt, Austin Peay, Tennessee. Unfortunately, not going well for Memphis this year, but this is the basketball capital of the world. You get excited.
Apparently so. We're going to get into some basketball here in just a few minutes, but we must begin the show today, really in celebration. Nick Westbrook-Akine released by the Dolphins yesterday in the I think definitely the biggest move they made yesterday. Nick Westbrook-Akine out. He is now available. And Rexrode is salivating. He's celebrating the idea of potentially bringing NWI home back to the Tennessee Titans. What do we make of that?
Well, or I kind of feel bad for him because I don't know. I don't know where it's going from here. But yeah, it's possible. Is there anybody here?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Now, what about New England?
Maybe.
That's
probably got a better shot.
Those people know NWI for all the overachieving he did to even get himself to this spot.
I do think it probably needs to be studied how he went from in 2024, 32 catches and 9 touchdowns for 500 yards to this past year. He played in 15 games. He had 11 catches for 89 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah. And obviously, Tyreek Hill
Sure.
missed a lot of time. Waddle's out there. I'm not really familiar with other guys. Obviously, he just was just not in the rotation, right? I mean, the guy
He had 20 targets the whole year.
yeah, terrible offense and all that, terrible all-around situation. But, kind of it's too bad. Probably didn't work out for him. But then again, with all the changes here, who knows what it would have looked like here too. So, bottom line for him is great overachieving. And, yeah, it's probably I would bet the Patriots and, that's your best bet. If you're able to, like, shoot, I want him in the room.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do, but I know that, like, if someone gets hurt, I could put him in the X, the Z, the slot, whatever, and he'll be fine.
I think you probably nailed it.
Good luck in
That's
WA.
probably where he's going to end up.
Yeah, he can play the Mac Hollins role.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Get him there to New England. He'll have another explosive year.
They go from Super Bowl runner-up to Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, it's the missing piece.
Ad. That's right.
The missing piece. So Tyreek Hill released yesterday by the Dolphins as well. Joe, we talked about that last week as basically an inevitability, and there it is. So Hill is going to be out there. I am very interested to see what the market for him is going to look like. I do not think that market should include the Tennessee Titans based on a number of different factors. Number one being that I don't think he would even consider the Tennessee Titans. But based on where they are, based on him being 31 years old, going to be 32 here in about a week and a half, the injury that he just had, I'd probably let somebody else go after Tyreek Hill. That's just me.
Yep. I totally agree with that. There is obviously the familiarity front office wise, but yeah, actually listening to Sportsish, I always get the show name mixed up, but
Unsportsmanlike.
yes, coming in. I thought Kevin
Sports
Clark,
folk.
there you go. Sporty Spice. But I think Kevin Clark made because he's in for Canty. I thought he made a good point. It's like, if you're Tyreek Hill, you're the best it's ever been is with Kansas City. If you're Kansas City, think about like the offense before and after Tyreek Hill. Eric Bieniemy's coming back. I mean, why the heck not? These people all know each other.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody has to keep those expectations realistic, but I like the idea. I don't know if, like, are there any bridges burned with Andy Reid or anything like that? I don't know. Tyreek Hill seems like a bridge burner.
He does.
But I like that idea. And of course, and another thing is, again, like, I mean, you're signing him and you don't know when he's going to be available.
That's the other thing. Now, it would be fascinating in one off season, like the Chiefs sign Tyreek Hill, they draft Jeremiah Love, like all these people think they're going to now. Like they just started adding weapons to the offense, and it'd be the Chiefs' luck that Tyreek Hill goes there and he's got like 2 more years of just being really good. It's
Sure.
like, oh, good, awesome, they're right back in there in the AFC.
Yeah. Well, they did have this year of not making the playoffs.
It's true.
So they have had a bad year.
That is true.
Poor guys.
They did. Adam Schefter putting it out there earlier this morning, and this is going to be interesting to keep an eye on if you're a Titans fan here. Schefter says this, quote, "It's unlikely the Seahawks will use their franchise tag on running back and Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker, per league sources. Seahawks have multiple free agents they want to retain and sign. They'll also try to extend Jackson Smith and Jigba. There are enough Super Bowl tax costs that now make using a franchise tag this offseason unlikely," is what Adam Schefter says. So teams can begin applying the franchise or transition tags today through March the 3rd.
Okay. So without the tag, then we expect him to be on the market.
I don't know. It's a good question.
First of all, that shocks me that not necessarily the tag, but but if he just ends up out there, that's shocking to me. They tried to do the combo thing with Charbonnet. Charbonnet's good too, but Walker is clearly better. I think they were clearly wrong in the way that they were doing it, and then Charbonnet gets hurt, and it's like, yeah, give this guy the ball. Look, whatever. I mean, he's going to get overpaid if he's out there,
Sure,
on the open market. But man, like, what is the tag number for him? I mean, they must have someone else in mind that they're going to tag, right? They must.
I mean, Schefter says no. I don't know. I mean,
He says that they're just not going to use the tag.
They're not going to use tag, or it's unlikely that they're going to use the tag.
I mean, tagging a running back is such a
14-ish.
Yeah, it's such a small number. You know,
14
in the big picture of things, the reigning Super Bowl MVP still in his prime, and it's 14. Like, usually you're tagging. You know, you're tagging a quarterback, you're tagging a receiver, you're tagging an edge, and you're paying 30 something. You know, 20 high 20s.
Yep.
I don't know, man. But if he's out there, there are going to be people coming after him. That's for sure.
By the way, Schefter lists potential franchise tag candidates as George Pickens, obviously, Daniel Jones or Alec Pierce in Indianapolis, Kyle Pitts in Atlanta, Kenneth Walker before this news came out, and then Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati, Breece Hall with the Jets. Those are some of the candidates that he's thrown out there for the franchise tag.
Can't franchise Pierce.
I would not do that.
That would
be why that would.
Yeah, to pay him that much. My God. No, that's.
And I guess they could be absolutely hell bent on keeping him, and that would be maybe the way they think they could do it for you.
Then, make a deal.
Make a deal.
He'll be happy with a deal that you give him that is not that number.
Yeah, I don't know.
What?
Alec Pierce definitely. I don't know if that's the one I would include in that mix there.
Yeah. So Breece Hall, another guy we've talked about,
Yep.
As a possible Titan. I mean, who knows what the heck the Jets might do with anything. So
the Kyle Pitts
Keep
part
an
of
open
this is going to be interesting because, thinking back to his draft, right? Like, they took Kyle Pitts and it's like, he's going to be the best tight end in the league by the time he's like in year 2. And he's definitely not been that. Now, he was on a, highly average football team last year. Pretty productive. He had 88 catches, 928 yards, 5 touchdowns. So I'm interested to see what that deal ends up looking like, either in Atlanta or does he somehow make it to free agency out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like there's been a lot of let's blame everybody else. The quarterback's not good. They don't use him enough. Arthur Smith, you don't get him the ball and all this stuff.
Right.
And at some point it's like, he's good. He's good.
May not be great.
Yeah, may not be great. But maybe that's not the worst idea then to tag him if you still think that maybe there's another level and maybe you can get it to that. But I don't know. I'd kind of be surprised by that too.
We got a lot more on the NFL front to get into later in the program. We'll evaluate some options for the Titans at edge rusher that'll be out there via free agency. All that coming up a little bit later in the show. Coming up next, we're going to throw a question out there related to Tennessee and Vanderbilt and see where fans come down on who they'd rather be on the basketball front for the next 5 years. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. So, Joe, throwing this question out there. Which school, from a basketball standpoint, would you rather be for the next 5 years? Is it Tennessee or is it Vanderbilt? And I think it's an interesting question from the standpoint of this. Like, without question, like, I don't even think it's arguable. The best program, when you talk about, the men's team at Tennessee, women's team at Tennessee, men's team Vanderbilt, women's team Vanderbilt, the best program recently, I mean, there's no question, has been Rick Barnes and Tennessee men. Like, it's not close between the other three when it comes to just the amount of regular season success, some deep tournament runs that they've made. Rick Barnes has been far and away of those options recently the most successful program. Hey, look, are they having the same type of year right now that they've had the last few years? No. We'll see what happens in the tournament when that comes around, but they're still, a pretty talented team. They could go on a run this year. I have no idea. So we'll see what happens.
They could
on that front. Now you have Mark Byington and Vanderbilt on the men's side of things making some noise this year and looking like they're going to be a threat by the time tournament time comes around. We've talked about Shea Ralph and the women and what they've done, and could they be a 1 seed in the tournament? It's going to be really interesting to see what they do there. And then you've got Kim Caldwell, who this time last week was going through a little bit of turmoil as her team responded after that, took down Missouri and almost took down Texas over the weekend. Still very early in her tenure there. We'll see where this thing goes from here. So, projecting out, it's also like, how long do you think Rick Barnes is going to be doing this? Like, there's a lot I think that's really interesting about this question. Is somebody going to hire Mark Byington away? Is Gino going to retire in 3 years and they're going to give Shea Ralph a call? Like, there's a lot about this that I think is really, really interesting. So, Joe, with all that in mind, when you're thinking about Tennessee and Vanderbilt and you're discussing the basketball programs there, which school are you taking for the next 5 years? Is it Tennessee or is it Vanderbilt?
Yeah, and just to be clear, yeah, we're both programs. It's a really good question.
Thank you.
Great job by you. Because, first of all, it's so hard to do the 5-year thing in college sports, it is.
It's hard to do the year-to-year thing in college sports anymore.
Right. So you base it on coach, and like you said, like Rick Barnes retiring, very much on the table, not, maybe not too far down the road. Kim Caldwell of the 4, still you got to prove some things. I think actually the reaction to how she won off on the team is good, but still got to prove some things, year 2. Shea Ralph, like you said, I mean, I think there's one job. I mean, the way that Vanderbilt has, the way they resource these programs and the success and everything, I think she's super. I think she's here set up for a long haul and a hell of a run. And I would argue that would be my program that I would probably, I'd put probably first in terms of the outlook, just because now they got Michaela Blakes and they've got big time players coming in, and then that feeds itself too if you need to go in the portal this next year. So they're going to be a contender for the Final Four now. And again, unless something unforeseen happens, you have those 2 guards with probably some better support next year, and they might be as good as anyone. So it's I'd have to put them first. But yeah, you're right. What if Gino retires? Is there a lure back home, so to speak, to where she won a championship as a player? I mean, I'd be if I had it going here to championship level, I'd be why do I want to follow one of the 2 best coaches ever in this sport?
Yeah.
But we'll see. And then you, like you mentioned, Byington. How many jobs out there, because certainly he's a national coach of the year candidate for sure. How many jobs out there might be able to pry him out of here? I mean, there's obviously I think there's a higher level of job in terms of history and things like that. But again, their facilities are really good now too. So I'm sitting here talking and not answering your question. I think I've also seen something out here. Somebody out here was saying that they think Tennessee, like men's is a top 10 job in men's basketball. I think that's a little lofty, but he has made it a really good job.
Yeah.
So like there will be a ton of interest for that job, whenever he decides to retire. I mean, 5 years. I think 5 years. I'd probably lean Vanderbilt, just because like at this point, again, if you're going to do the program comparison, I think Vanderbilt and Tennessee men. I mean, I think the year for year it could totally change. I mean, this year, and frankly, like they're close this year. They're playing this weekend. These are two close.
It's gonna be a heck of a game on Saturday. By the way,
it's gonna be a heck of a game. Like year for year, like. But I know that Rick Barnes is. I think it's more likely, like in 5 years, Rick Barnes is not the coach, and Byington is not the coach, right?
I mean, Rick Barnes is 71 years old, so I agree.
And so then you go to the women's side. I mean, maybe it's crazy to say, but like I think the trajectory, the outlook right now is better for Vanderbilt women's basketball than it is for Tennessee women's basketball. Which again, when has that ever been true? I mean, maybe like never. Like Vanderbilt had great teams. Bill Foster, they had a Final Four team. But they were still second fiddle to Pat Summitt's program, And now I think it's hard for me to look at the way they're recruiting and the momentum they have and everything they now have going for them. Because, again, if you've ever been in the Tennessee women's basketball facilities, it's exactly what it should be. It's a Taj Mahal. I mean, and it's hard to like that tradition, everything is so. But I feel like it's also kind of overwhelming and people aren't happy unless you're here. And so I think maybe sometimes that makes it tougher. Whereas here, it's like they're just excited to be this rising program. So I think I would give a tiny, tiny edge in this question to Vanderbilt.
I think I would too. Although the Tennessee men's program is what makes this really interesting because we've talked about this before. Right now, under Rick Barnes, the Tennessee men's basketball program has all of the ingredients necessary to win a national championship. They do. Now, they've not done it, and they've not gotten to the Final Four yet. And we've had that discussion a billion times about Rick Barnes and the Final Four and getting over the hump and all those things. But investment, facilities, recruiting, all of it, like they've got it. So I think with the other three at the moment, with Shea Ralph leading the way at Vanderbilt, I mean, I agree with you. I think if you're forecasting out, number one, knowing that she's there, Michaela Blakes is there, Aubrey Galvin's there. Like they're going to have, and they got good recruits coming in. Like you would think they're going to be competing for a national championship here pretty soon, but you got to go prove it. Like the other, those three right now to me, and I know Byington's having a good year too, but as far as like somebody on the text line right now is talking about, Brian says, I'll start up by saying, yeah, I'm a Vandy fan, but for the next 5 years, I'd happily take Vanderbilt programs over Tennessee because of the head coach. I don't trust Barnes when it comes to the tournament. Well, how could you possibly trust any of the other three?
Yeah. Who have back-to-back Elite Eights doesn't do anything for you?
Right. Like, I mean, Barnes' track record in the tournament, granted, he's been around for a long time. I get it. But it's way more than any of those other three. Now, that doesn't mean any of those other three can't do it. But, as far as trust concerned, like, it's not close. Rick Barnes and trust is definitely the winner in this category.
Yeah, and I understand. Like Rick Barnes has been to one Final Four in his career, and he should have been to more. He's had some incredible players and teams, and this was a huge thing in Texas. And when they lost to Michigan in 22 with a team that I thought was a national championship contender, that was like, I mean, I was just like with everybody else, like, man, there's just something about Rick once you get here that, and then the next year they lose. Who the heck did they lose in 23? It was Ziegler.
Yes.
They lose to Kai Ziegler, get to the Sweet 16, and then they go back-to-back Elite Eights. I mean, it's not the Final Four, but, like, they go to Detroit, and, they're playing this unbelievable Purdue team that gets all the way to the title game, and they lose an amazing game. Like, that's the idea that because of the Barnes not trusting, I think that he's blown that up, or he should have. Yeah, you need to try to get another step. Last year, Houston kicked their butt, man, and they probably should have won it all too, But I'm with you. It's like, okay, so what trust do you, show me some. I mean, Byington has gotten there with James Madison, and you got there with Vanderbilt last year, but like there's a lot. There are coaches who are better in the regular season and not as good in March. And there's some coaches who overperform in March relative to what they do in the regular season. And we just don't know really with any of these coaches other than Barnes, who, again, to me has done a lot to rehabilitate that March underachiever tag with the last 3 years.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Throwing it out there, which school would you rather be from a basketball standpoint for the next 5 years? Is it Tennessee or is it Vanderbilt? A lot of your thoughts to get to on this. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Which school, from a basketball standpoint, would you take for the next 5 years? Tennessee or Vanderbilt? Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Liam says, pretty cool that this is an actual debate. Even cooler that Robby wants to talk hoops.
Yeah, baby. We're close to
March.
March.
Guy, man. I don't know what to tell you.
That's right.
I went and saw a game over the weekend. Tournament's right around the corner. I'm warming up to it.
I love it.
That's what I tell you people this every year. Like every time March comes around, I start to get into it. It just takes me until March to get into it.
I get it. You're like a lot of people.
Yeah.
It is it's pretty amazing, like the overall, really, like the state of basketball in this state is
Pretty good.
Is pretty good. You're gonna have home NCAA tournament games at Memorial. And again, you're gonna have a lot of programs competing in March.
Here's the interesting thing in this discussion that I think, particularly if you've been a Tennessee fan for a long period of time and you've watched, like you were there and you watched Pat Summitt in the heyday and just the dominance of that program. You know, everybody's been waiting for that to return to Tennessee. And I'm not saying that it never will, but it's been a long time at this point, right? Like, you know, they've cycled through coaches here. You know, we'll see, you know, Kim Caldwell's in her second year. So I have no idea one way or the other how that's going to work out with her at this point. I thought she did a good job in her first year. It's been a little bumpy so far in the second year, but maybe they get through this part and they make a decent run in the tournament coming up. We'll see. But I do think, and people in Knoxville have talked about this for a long time. It's an interesting question. Like, is it ever going to get back to where they're actually like one of the elite of the elite? Like, it's because, like you said, you go in the locker room, you look at the investment level in the program. It should be like they should get back to that at some point. But as you know, I mean, Joe, you know this as well as anybody. The women's game right now is just totally different than it was, right? Like it's growing every year. It's totally different. And I understand like UConn is still UConn, and South Carolina has basically replaced Tennessee as one of those blue bloods right now. To me, having this question with the women's team right now, it's Vanderbilt. Like it's clear. It's Vanderbilt over the next 5 years just because of how unproven Tennessee is right now. And that question of like, is Tennessee, are the Lady Vols ever going to be back consistently like at the upper crust of this sport where you're talking, UConn, Tennessee or UConn, South Carolina, Tennessee? Is that ever happening again?
It's a great question. Pat Summitt's, to me, one of the greatest coaches in American sports history in any sport. And, I think what she did goes beyond like what she did for Tennessee. She did a ton for the game and for bringing that from, this was not an NCAA sport until the early 80s. I mean, she was coaching at Tennessee in the 70s after playing in the Olympics. And like, she's one of the greatest coaches of all time, recruiters, everything. And obviously it's going to be hard to replace that. But I think the bigger thing is just that there's so many more places that care about the sport. So again, not to take anything away from what she did, but the SEC wasn't filled with programs who were seriously investing because they thought women's basketball was really important. That's just the SEC now is insane. I mean, Vanderbilt lost the other day, to like they're on give me on the one line and they lose a tough game at Georgia. Well, Georgia's like comfortably an NCAA team. They're not even a bubble team. That's a good team on the road. This league is loaded with teams. But also, so my answer to you is if they have a great coach, if they have a coach that's like Dawn Staley, because to me, Dawn Staley kind of she's like the Pat Summitt of back in the day in terms of like, if you're one of the absolute best players in the country, you're not going to go play for either Dawn Staley or Gino Auriemma. Yeah, you are. Right. And that's still the case.
No.
And so like, Tennessee needs someone who is great, who is truly, and I'm not sitting here saying at this point I could just rule Kim Caldwell out from that.
Yeah, she could be.
Yeah, like I don't know, but that's what it's going to take. And even then, like you're still dealing with so much more parity, which is to me like that's fine. It's been great to see UConn not win it in the last little bit. Yeah, it's been great to see Iowa with Caitlin Clark, and to see now you see USC has come out. UCLA this year is incredible, and some of these different programs. That's awesome for the game. But Tennessee still should be at a higher level than it is.
Yes.
Tennessee should be up with that in that top realm. It's just a bigger list of programs. And I do look at Vanderbilt, and again, I think they might be on their way to that. You get a generational's overused, but you get a player like Michaela Blakes, and that becomes a Pied Piper kind of thing. Not to mention Shea Ralph herself, obviously as a coach who is an incredible recruiter. Yeah, we're in the NIL era and all that stuff, but still, like, the money's roughly the same. Okay, then what other factors come into play when a recruit is picking a school?
Well, on the men's side of things for Tennessee, I mean, at this point, we know what that program is going to be as long as Rick Barnes wants to do it, right? Like, they're going to be really good and typically going to be a really good defensive team. And then when the tournament comes around, can they ever break down the door, get through the Final Four, compete for a national championship, all those things? You know what? The interesting part about that in this discussion is when he does retire, whether it's after this season, whether it's 4 years from now, whenever it is that Rick Barnes decides to hang it up. Because I don't think it's going to be that long. Like, I think he's legitimately thought about it for a couple years at this point. So it's probably not going to be that long before he retires. How replicable is all this? Like, has he built the program to a point where the next person, whether it's internal or whether they open it up and they go external with it, like, is it going to keep going? Does it cycle all the way back down to where it used to be? Like I mean, he's unquestionably, to me, the greatest men's coach in the history of their program. So has he gotten it to the point where the next person can come in and they just keep it going? That to me is going to be really, I think, a long way in determining the answer to this question.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely made it to where there's an expectation now. I mean, again, some of this stuff is like, do kids grow up even like seeing you have success and stuff, like, I mean, Tennessee is in there year after year. Like, they're going to be good. They've invested in it. They've seen the value of having a program, that program being good. So I think whoever replaces him is going to be in a good situation. But then again, how good is that person? I mean, Rick Barnes is, the March stuff has overshadowed like how great of a coach he's been for so long, and an incredible developer of players. I think a combination of, of course, he's gone out. You get a Nate Ament and some of these other guys they've gotten. He been able to get top players at Texas too. But also you find as Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Meshack. Like, he's also a guy who can go out and find people, and they can be way better players than you ever would have guessed. So, like, a lot of that stuff is it's just the answer is whoever the coach is. But I think he will be set up to have success. Way better than Rick was when he got there, and probably better than any Tennessee coach ever coming into that job was.
So the answer that we've both come to, I think, is Vanderbilt, given the uncertainty at Tennessee, is like, what's going to happen with Rick Barnes? And, frankly, Kim Caldwell, I think, was more unproven at this point than the other coaches that we're talking about. So Vanderbilt is the final answer here, who we're taking in the next 5 years.
And we haven't talked much about Byington, but again, obviously it's really impressive what he's done so far in 2 years. Just comes right in, and I mean, they're like I think they should be a second weekend team this year, and we could see Vandy and Tennessee in the second weekend. I mean, they're going to get Duke Miles back, but also what takes him away? There's talk about North Carolina might open up. Byington is a Virginia guy. Obviously a program like that, well, what are you going to do, right? I mean, you'd have to, but is it anything less than that? Is that, does that take him away from Vanderbilt? Because I feel like, again, they're set up to be successful now.
Well, that goes back to our conversation last week of, Candace Lee, the job she's done, but really like the whole university embracing how important athletics are. Or as like now, I think if you're Shea Ralph, it makes a lot of sense to just stay there and build your own thing. But I do think, without, having direct inside knowledge, UConn would probably be the job she would consider, right? Like, that's it. And I don't really know why you would go anywhere else at this point. Byington, is it the same? Like, I think if you're him, you'd probably be crazy not to at least think about North Carolina if it came open and they offered it to you, right? Like, you got to consider that if you're Mark Byington. But is that what it's going to be? It's like, well, I'm going to be at Vanderbilt unless it's North Carolina or Kentucky or something like that. Like, that may be where those jobs have gotten to.
Like if Purdue opened up, or
right?
I don't know. I mean, USC, whatever. I feel like Yeah, like again, and not long ago, you would say, well, yeah, you still like there's like levels in the SEC that you would go up from here to now,
Right.
And now, again, they actually have a building and stuff that's really good to go with everything else that's going on over there. So, you love your boss. The chancellor cares about sports, like all that stuff is just not stuff that Vanderbilt's used to over its history.
Coming up next, a former Vols coach made some comments yesterday that left a lot of people scratching their heads and saying, what in the world does all that mean? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Shout out to the Tennessee Titans, baby.
Yeah.
Just brought us some coffee, some scones. National
Scones.
Acts of Kindness Day.
Yeah, random acts of kindness. That's today. Today is National Random Act of Kindness Day.
I mean, that's right up Big Joe's alley. You'd have to ask him, but I think so.
Okay.
I'm going to assume the Titans know what they're talking about there. Yeah.
Very, very nice of the Titans. Preston of the Titans comes in. Nice to meet him. And I like, it's this big box. I haven't looked in it yet, but it said like bacon, cheddar, chives, scones.
Yeah.
I've never had a scone with bacon and cheddar. Oh, my God.
We're getting ready to find out.
Holy cow.
Getting ready to find out.
Thanks, Titans.
Thank you to the Titans for making that happen today. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025.
We'll be nice from now on.
Yes. Tony Vitello made some very interesting comments yesterday. Of course, now the new manager of the San Francisco Giants. They're off at spring training. Baseball season is right around the corner. And some comments yesterday that Vitello kind of just brought up on his own that are making the rounds both in Knoxville and in San Francisco with what he had to say. Here's what this is. Look, I'll go ahead and warn everybody. It's a pretty long clip, but I do think it's worth playing the whole thing because, I mean, the whole thing is just like, wait a minute, what's he doing? Like, what's he trying to say here? So this was Tony Vitello basically unprompted yesterday at Giants spring training.
When did you first think I was taking this job? Or do you remember that far back?
Yeah, it was about 4 days before it actually happened, 5 days before.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because that was not reality, you know, at all. I don't know if Buster would feel the same way, but that wasn't the case. If, you know, somebody decides they think they got the information, you know, the final blow was about 4 days later. And the thing I'm just kind of having a conversation, therapy, if you will, from walking out of there. But I needed confirmation from the coaches that I worked with that helped boost my status, that they were okay with what was going to go on and they were going to be okay with their jobs. You know, that staff had always been built as like next man up. And all of a sudden that was being threatened. So it was kind of hard to do something for yourself and your teammates get left behind. But yeah, it was not 4 days for what it's worth. That was not the case at all. If you would have seen me in my condo, you would have agreed. So, but anyway,
why do you ask?
Because somebody tweeted it out. I don't know who told them. I wish I did. And, you know, it might have changed the course of history if I would have known who did, to be honest with you. But it just bothers me because, I don't know. You see people angry on this. I hate to get philosophical, but you see people angry on the streets for a lot of times stuff that's not even true. You know, people arguing and you don't know what reality is. So, but I did, shrink-wise, I did a really damn good job at keeping that away from our team, our recruiting, and it was not a distraction. And then all of a sudden in the middle of practice, I see our first and third base coach freaking out. And they freaked out on me too. And it's for no reason, because at that point, nothing was going to happen. But somebody decided that it was going to happen. And then the whole world started spinning real quick. And I had to address the team. And people said either that or me leaving was a distraction. Those guys are SEC athletes. They ain't distracted by me. We dealt with years where they thought we might take a job, or we were offered a job, or there was jobs open. I'd meet with guys in the office. They're like, Coach, we don't care. The guys care about the guys when the season's going on, and hopefully they love their coaches. But that thing was never a distraction. They got talent, and they got good kids, so they're going to be just fine. But yeah, that was not a fun Saturday, and then it kind of affected how the next few days went. But ultimately, sorry to rain on your parade. Great organization, great people to work with, and a great challenge. So didn't say no.
So that was Vitello yesterday, which couple interesting things there. First off, the reaction from that. So like, you know, he's unprompted. Like, so when did you guys think that I was taking this job? Well, it's funny you say it was 4 days before, because that's not happening. And then he goes on this big rant and ramble. You know, one of the things he talked about in that rant there, Joe, was, you know, if I would have known where that information came from, it may have changed the course of history, was the quote that he had there, which has, you know, I saw some Giants fans react to this and say, well, good grief, does he already regret taking the job? Like, is this
Yeah.
some big, sign that he's in over his skis, or he wishes he would have stayed at Tennessee? Saw Tennessee fans look at this yesterday and been like, does he want to come back? Like, what's going on around here? What did you make of that from Tony Vitello yesterday?
Oh my goodness. It's going to be a hell of a ride out there. Cause it's like, I mean, this is, he does, I think, kind of, sometimes he's with the reporters and he just sort of opens a vein, and it's a little bit. I've seen other coaches too, like this a little bit. It's almost like therapy session for coaches. I have a little bit of knowledge of this because, we at The Athletic broke the story that he's expected to take the job. I found it really interesting that he said there, that might have changed the course of history. I mean, I took that as, if I knew for sure that the Giants were the source and they were jumping the gun, even though I hadn't agreed yet, maybe I wouldn't have taken it. I mean, he even said later it affected the next few days, which almost to me said, maybe let it take a little longer than it might have.
Yeah.
Because of that. And I mean, like, look, I don't know what all happened on that side of things with the Giants and everything like that. But, typically when something like, it wasn't him for sure. It was not him telling people he was taking the job. So it seems like maybe somebody on the Giants side was saying it's a done deal. It's just a matter of crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And that's what people at Tennessee react to. And then he made it clear. I mean, he is again saying it. It was not a done deal. But like, why do they care? Why does anybody care at this point?
That's the thing. I mean, he's taking the job, at spring training. And look, Vitello, I think, is clearly excited to be the manager of the Giants. I mean, I've seen a bunch of stuff he's done up there. I think he's very excited about it. But I did see that yesterday. I was like, he's just like unprompted bringing up the process of him taking the Giants job. Clearly, the way that all played out bothered him, right? Clearly.
Big time.
So I don't know if that's just something he needed to get off his chest and he moves on at this point, which is what I assume it is. But I know that sure generated a lot of reaction, both from I saw a lot of Giants fans looking at me like, dude, if you miss it that bad, let's just go ahead and cut bait, get out of here, and let's go. Like, get back in college baseball. It was. Yeah. I don't think he did himself any favors with the Giants fan base yesterday.
No, but I also like people who are looking at this and saying, "Oh, he wants out." I think that's an overreaction too. I think he's just bothered by it, and frankly, it's one of those things like, it's it's a little different. Like, you're an assistant baseball coach, and you kind of anonymously take the Tennessee job, and then you do incredible things. And so now you're in the big leagues, and you're kind of got in the big leagues even once you took Tennessee where you took them. But this is what happens. The reality is you start getting into this stuff with jobs, with agents, with two sides of something. This happens all the time, where it's like someone's expected to take this job. Someone on one side of a negotiation says that, it gets reported, and then the other side is like, well, wait, I didn't want you to say that yet. It's just how it goes. Like, yeah, definitely like one of those. Hopefully for him and for everybody out there, he let his
that's it
case be known. He said his piece, and now it's like, okay, let's talk about that Giants rotation, buddy. Well, that's what people want to hear about.
It's further confirmation that, college baseball, Tony Vitello got a lot of face time, a lot of screen time. You're a lot of interviewing and reporting and press conferences and all that stuff. Major League Baseball, he's going to be talking every day.
Yes.
And that is going to be very interesting to monitor in his first year up there, how that goes.
Yeah.
I don't imagine it's the last time we'll be talking about Tony Vitello this year based on something that he says.
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating. If they win, he will be like, he'll be like Yogi Berra in MLB. We will have constant hilarious stuff. If it goes bad, there'll be a lot of talk about him too. Who knows what again, all we know is Tony Vitello winning at a massively high level here at Tennessee. It is harder to do that in MLB. It just is. But it's going to be so fascinating to see. And meanwhile, he did leave Tennessee in pretty good shape.
Yep. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Add another one to the board yesterday with Bradley Chubb entering free agency. What are the options going to be for the Titans at edge rusher via free agency? We'll get into some of those coming up next. Robby and Rexrode 102.5 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. Property managers, if you manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Taking your thoughts all show long at 615-737-1025. Live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Joey Dwyer will be with us later in the hour. We'll get into some Vanderbilt hoops with him. So looking forward to that a little bit later this hour. The Rob Rant coming up at 7:45. All that ahead here on the program. Joe, Bradley Chubb added to the list yesterday. It was a busy day for the Miami Dolphins. They cut Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill out the door, Nick Westbrook-Ikine out the door. A lot of stuff going on with the Miami Dolphins yesterday. And we've talked a lot about, obviously, free agent wide receivers that are going to be out there and available. We'll see who actually makes it to free agency. It's an interesting crop of potential free agents on the edge rusher front as well. And I'm looking at it, and I'm wondering how many of these guys make sense for the Titans to pursue. I mean, on the surface, you look at it and you say, well, they all make sense for the Titans to pursue because they don't have any edge rushers that you feel good about. And I understand that. They do have the number 4 pick coming up with an opportunity to potentially select one in the draft. So you have to keep that in mind. But now, Bradley Chubb has been added to the mix. He's 29 years old. He's going to be out there. Trey Hendrickson's, what's going to happen with him? Like, does he get tagged by Cincinnati, or do they just let him go to free agency? I mean, he's 31 years old. I mean, the projected market value for him on Spotrac right now is $25 million per year. So at his age, are you willing to do that if you're the Titans? I'm interested to see how that goes. But there are all sorts of interesting names. I mean, Draymond Jones, it's interesting to look at him. His projected market value right now is at $10.3 million. So a nice year for Draymond Jones last year. There's interesting options, a lot of which, Joe, are like older guys. Like Joey Bosa is going to be out there. Danico Autry at age 35 is a free agent. Going to be interesting to see what happens with him. You do have some of your younger guys like Odafe Oweh at 27 years old, coming off a big year for the Chargers. What happens with him? His projected market value, I think, is $19.3 million per year. So any names really jump out to you when it comes to the free agent crop of edge rushers, and how active do you think the Titans should be in pursuing maybe some of these bigger names at edge rusher that are going to cost a pretty good amount of money that the Titans do have to spend?
Yeah, I'm not against going after big fish in any position if it makes sense. But like you said, a lot of these guys are older. So I'm looking at how many guys are there? Some guys in here that aren't as old, who are more like mid to late 20s, who, maybe, and a lot of the guys who are like that, usually if you're good enough and you're not here, you don't get to here. But looking at guys like, okay, I don't know, Malcolm Kuntz from Vegas, who's 27. Gross Matos.
Our guy.
Our guy from the Niners out there at 20, just about 28. What about Joseph Asai, the kid out of Texas? He was a big talking point during that draft, from the Bengals. His market value stated to be about $9.2 million, 25 years old. Are there some Joe Tryon? What about a Joe Tryon? Who, again, he has been disappointing. He's 26. It would not be a big spend to me if they could get a couple guys off this list. Kwity Paye. Now that's an interesting one. I don't know where the Colts are with him, but 27 years old, market value stated here to be high 17. So you're talking about, he'd be one of the bigger ticket items. We're talking about the Colts like tagging Pierce. I don't know. Are you tagging a guy like that? Probably not, because you're not paying him that much, but he could be a really interesting player. Guy who we talked about a ton, who has been disappointing also, but still could upgrade your situation as a guy. What about Azeez Ojulari?
Yeah.
What does he have at 25 years old? So and you don't want to get into this whole thing with like, a bunch of disappointing guys just because they're younger. But I feel like there's on this list, there are some people who can help you, can upgrade you. We're not going to be huge spends, but give you some bodies and some rotation there. Chase on. What about Vrabel's guy, Chase on? What's the situation there? He's supposed to be, and he's about a $9 million AAV anticipated value. So there's some of them are a little bit, and then like you said, you have your obvious ones. I mean, I don't know who the heck is going to go after Trey Hendrickson. It just doesn't seem like a Titans move, because that's like, to me, that's a team that's ready right now that says, okay, let's go ahead and we got the space, or we don't, and we're going to kick the can, but it's worth it to try to add this guy and make a run.
I mean, the thing about the Titans situation, with their cap right now is, I mean, if they really want to, they can go spend on a higher ticket item in free agency at edge rusher and still draft somebody at number 4 and also go pay for a wide receiver. Like they can do all of that if they want to. Now, just because you have all this money, I still think, it behooves you as a general manager to make sure you're spending it on the right people, right? So that's going to be Mike Borgonzi's job to determine that heading into the offseason here. But, there's nothing to stop the Titans for going after one of these big ticket free agent items at edge rusher and drafting, a David Bailey at number 4. Like, you can do that if you're the Titans. I'm really interested to see what their approach is. And does the draft, knowing that the draft is going to present you with an opportunity, like they're going to be able to draft, if they want to, one of Arvell Reese, David Bailey, Reuben Bain, right? Like they're going to, because Mendoza's going at number 1. So one of those guys is going to be there at number 4. And that doesn't mean you have to go that way, but if they want to, they can. So how much does that factor into how they decide to allocate their money? Like if they've, I would assume at this point they're pretty heavily into their draft stuff as well as their free agent board. So if they've got a pretty good idea that edge rusher is going to be too good of an option to pass up at number 4, does that affect what they do in free agency at edge rusher? Does it make them more aggressive for a wide receiver when it comes to free agency? Like I don't know, but that part of it is going to be interesting to see how that plays out, given the timing of all of it, because some of these needs that we're talking about with the Titans may not be needs anymore by the time free agency is gone and the draft gets here.
Yeah. It's always interesting to think about draft anticipation affecting free agency strategy, but it is possible that at 4, someone could want to get in there. I don't know for what exactly, but it's possible. It's possible that someone's in love with someone who is there, and they're not going to be able to get them if they don't move into that spot. And so then the Titans move down. Like, what if it's too good to pass up? That's why I think you just have to be really careful about doing things in free agency because you expect this or that to happen in the draft. And they should be adding at both spots, and they should be open to drafting to either spot. Like, that's the need is severe enough at both of them that, and again, we've talked about receiver. Like, they're not going to get a number 1 receiver, and they're not going to get their best long-term pass rusher out of this. You wouldn't think out of either of these free agency groups, but they need people at both. So they may have a real strong idea here in a couple weeks of who they love in the draft, but you still also have that whole process, and that can change your mind. The combine can change your mind, right? The interviews can change your mind. So, and there's film has been watched, but there's still going to be more to come. So I feel like you have to have an open mind on the draft, and you just have to, you want to see him spend for sure. But like you said, you can easily take that cap space and use it unwisely and be in a bad spot. And we saw this with the Titans a couple years ago.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Some options on the table for the Titans when it comes to free agency at edge rusher. Anybody stand out to you? What should the Titans do in free agency with all the money that they've got to spend? We'll take your thoughts on all that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Preds fans, Smashville Live, presented by Gary Force Acura, returns tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on 102.5 The Game, live from Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. The special guest this week, General Manager Barry Trotz. That's tomorrow night at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs and only on 102.5 The Game. Also, make sure you check out Vanderbilt baseball today, taking on Eastern Michigan at Hawkins Field at 4:30. Catch all the action on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app. Coverage presented by Gary Force Acura. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Joe, one texter says, I think I'd spend money if I were the Titans on a quality offensive lineman so I don't have to go draft one. They still need help with that offensive line, and that'll improve everything. You know, we've talked about the tackle part of that. They do need a guard, you know. Like it's going to be interesting to see what they do at guard. I mean, Zeitler did not work out last year. So, you know, they do have Jackson Slater there. Maybe that's the route that they go. But, you know, regardless, they're going to need another guard of some kind to throw in there on top of all that at this point.
Yeah. But if you're talking tackle, quality offensive lineman, again, you can work around the edges on that a little bit and have someone who gets in the rotation and you can throw in there, but you're not getting a starting tackle in free agency. So that's where my point has been made. We don't need to belabor the point that, but again, and seriously, like it appears, and people have made this point to me, and that's fine. Like, it appears that these edges, at least, I don't know about the receiver. I'm still a little skeptical, a little sketch on a receiver at 4, but that the edges, at least as overall players, are going to outrate the offensive tackles. And then it's very simple. Then you go with that. But next year, just understand, I'm fast forwarding to next year when we get to talk about the draft for months. We'll be talking about an offensive tackle. We will.
Yeah, probably so.
Because Dan Moore is average at best. What's that?
Unless Mandor has a great year.
Yeah, unless somehow you get some bolts on that thing, you know, get a deadbolt. But right now it is a swinging, you know, screen door. It's like my screen door on my porch that, you know, the little latch broke, and people can just walk in now. I should have said that on the radio, actually.
Over infused with WD-40. That thing just, there's no creakiness to it at all. It just flies right open.
This is like one of those doggy doors, you know, little plastic flap, you know. It's not that bad. But we're going to be talking about tackling this. That's fine. Again, my whole thing too is, like, if your most valuable commodity in the organization is Cam Ward, like, I'd sacrifice a win or two this year to protect him, right? But again, doesn't appear that way. It looks like there's a ton of tackles in this draft, but not like absolutely, this guy is gonna, you know, for sure gonna be a superstar. Now, maybe the Titans do move down. Maybe someone does want to get into 4, and then I think the conversation gets a little bit more relevant. We'll see.
One texter says, as a Niners fan, I've watched every snap of Saleh's defense over the years. And with his wide 9 front 4, when Bosa goes down, it's night and day different. An elite edge is such a necessity. He rarely blitzes. You have to get home with 4. I'd be shocked if they don't get an edge at 4 and go after a big-name free agent. Plus, go look at the draft capital the Niners spent on the D-line during Saleh's years. I know it's not just his picks, but he had to have an influence there. That's from an unnamed texter.
Do it. Look at what Jeff Simmons did last year. And now imagine Jeff Simmons if all of a sudden he's surrounded by multiple edge guys who are a problem.
Yeah.
like why not, like, accentuate the best player you have, period, in what is clearly his prime. You have to say he's in his prime the way he played last year, right?
For sure.
I'm all for that. And if you have that kind of, if you can get front 4 pass rush consistently, everything else gets so much easier on defense.
Well, and to that point, like, I think you can make the argument to make that more of a priority, given the fact that what's their secondary going to be right now? I don't know. I mean, that's going to be part of the plan this offseason, is filling in those gaps. But in the meantime, like, to me, regardless of what you're doing at cornerback, you want to find a way to make the job easier for those guys. We'll get some edge rushers in here along with Simmons that can get after the quarterback. I think that would be the way to go, because, I mean, it's not impossible that they're going to find, in my opinion, 3 starting level corners. You know, I know TD was talking about Marcus Harris last week. if he ends up being good enough to be a starter, that's great. I don't know that I would count on that if I'm the Titans. So I think you need to go find 3 starting level corners some way, somehow this offseason. And I just think that's going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
So
but
to
reality,
mitigate some of that, go get some edge rushers that get after the quarterback.
Yeah. And honestly, like if you get 2 and you have to go this year with him in a bigger role than he should be, okay. I mean, like, you're not going to fix everything. You're not going to fix everything. But if you get 2 and you fix the pass rush, then I bet you things look better.
DK in Mount Juliet says they got all the cap space because they can't draft well. So they need to spend as much money as possible in free agency and finally get some good draft picks that they could sign to another contract. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, they have not had very many draft picks lately that have warranted second deals. There's no doubt about that, which is how you end up with the cap space that they've got at the moment.
It's pretty simple. The teams that are struggling out there, look at their draft classes, last 5 draft classes. If you really want to look at any of these teams who are doing well or doing poorly, there's signings, there's like Seattle getting Darnold, things like that. But it's pretty much the draft is a pretty strong correlation to success. And I do think that this last class, I don't know how many second deals we're talking about. Obviously, you hope that the top pick is a second deal guy. We'll see. But I think there's definitely some potential for some guys to be here a while from that class, even if they're not stars.
And by the way, and this is kind of dating back to last year, it's going to end up being a problem. Like we're talking about edge rusher. It's like, well, they may need to go spend high dollar money on an edge rusher and draft one at 4. And it's like, well, they could do that. They also drafted one last year in the 2nd round. Like, where does he fit into all this?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, he's got to be something for him, right? And I know that he was hurt for a lot of this last year. And frankly, the reports before that weren't overly encouraging by him. But, like, it would be great if next season rolls around and early in camp, you're like, hey, look, Femi Oladejo looks pretty good out there. That'd be nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of history repeating itself kind of from 10 years ago. You hope, one, that turns into the Titans start winning. But obviously you have the young quarterback. You want that to be a better outcome. But there's a lot of things that are you don't want him to be Kevin Dodd 10 years later.
Right.
2nd round pick that was just a complete flame out. Because it's just, again, the Titans back then got through that because they made enough other good choices. You can survive that, but yeah, to even have him at this point be a member of the rotation who you feel okay putting out there, I think that's a minor win next year, which isn't great. It doesn't speak well of that being a 2nd round pick, but I don't know what else to go on. Like, of course, everybody hopes he takes this huge jump, but that's what it is. It's a huge jump you're asking for.
Oh, and again, we've gone through this entire conversation, and it's almost like, oh, yeah, they got a 2nd round pick from last year that's in the fold in this too. So what's that going to look like? I mean, it's a completely different defense. Maybe Robert Saleh looks at Oladejo and says, you know what? He's got a lot of tools that I can work with there. And maybe that factors into their decision-making this offseason. But I'll tell you this. I would be worried on how productive they're going to be from an edge rusher situation if the plan this offseason ends up being, well, we're going to have Femi Oladejo on one side, and we're going to draft one at number 4, then put him on the other side and hope that works out. I think that's a dangerous game to play.
Right. You want Femi Oladejo to be down the list and, like, earn your spot in here. Because we just signed a couple guys who have skins on the wall, and we drafted this guy. Now, it takes pressure off him. But yeah, if you're counting on him being a starter, like, Marcus Harris being a starter, that's probably a little bit like he should probably be your 4th corner, right?
Yeah.
But you can survive that. Femi Oladejo being a starting edge on a defense right now, again, unless there's just this massive transformation, is just a bad idea.
Craig says, could y'all stop with the you can't fix everything in one offseason? You've been saying that the last 2 or 3 offseasons. By now, they should have fixed something.
I mean,
well, I don't know what to tell you, Craig.
What do you want me to tell you?
That's why they've been 3-14 the last 2 years. They haven't fixed enough.
Yeah, we know they stink. But it is true. Have they fixed anything? I mean, left guard is good. I think they've got a good middle linebacker, so that's something new.
They have drafted
a quarterback.
Yeah,
they have. So they may have fixed quarterback. But, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. They stink.
615-737-1025.
Thanks for the scones, though.
Is our phone number 615.
This is a low T alert.
737-1025. We'll never see any of that again. Joey Dwyer will be with us coming up next. We'll get into Vanderbilt basketball with him. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. Talking a little Vanderbilt basketball. And to help us do that, we head to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in Joey Dwyer to the program from Vanderbilt on SI. Joey, good morning. How we doing? What's going on?
Good. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Love the show.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So Joey, let's just start on the season that Vanderbilt has put together to this point. We're obviously looking forward to a big matchup here against Tennessee this weekend, but they got Missouri coming up before that on the road. What do you make of the job that Mark Byington has done in the season that Vanderbilt has put together to this point?
Yeah, I mean, he's done a fantastic job at year 2, and I mean, they're on pace to break the wins record in program history. They could get 26 or 27 wins on the year, and that would be the best in program history if they could do it. I mean, without Duke Miles and now Frankie Collins since December, this team is 4-1, and I really, my evaluation paused on them at that point. In my mind, it's like,
we're going to try to get Joey back on the phone there and get that reestablished there. But it looks like we're having some technical difficulties there.
Joey, if you're in a helicopter, I first of all, I admire your courage. Hopefully that's just a bad connection.
And we'll get him back on the line there and see how that works. But it did sound like
Joey
he
does a great job.
He was like rappelling there from the side of the road.
It could be too, yeah. Hang gliding, possibly.
Maybe so. These young kids, they do
exactly.
Do all this stuff.
I tell you, yeah, no doubt.
They're able to do all this stuff. By the way, we worried about the trap game at all for Vanderbilt against Missouri before Tennessee comes in?
Well, Missouri is on the bubble. Missouri is a talented team. I think it's, I'm a little disappointed in Missouri this year. Yeah, it's absolutely a dangerous game.
So let's head back to our phone line. Welcome Joey back into the program. Joey, we got you?
yeah, you guys got me this
There we
time?
go.
There we go.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So,
All right, there we go.
yeah, so let's just pick back up there, like the job that Byington has done and how well positioned Vanderbilt is. What do you make of that and just kind of their outlook heading into the last part of the regular season here?
Yeah, hopefully it's better this time, but I mean, he's done a tremendous job. It's year 2. Obviously, year 1, they had a pretty limited roster. He won 20 games. This year, they've already surpassed the win total. They did that on Saturday against Texas A&M. And right now, they're on track to break the program wins record in a season if they get to 26 or 27. I mean, you're looking at a season that they've never had in program history. They'd be a top 5 seed at that point. I don't think they're going to win the SEC regular season. It seems like Florida's got it all but locked down at this point. But what they've been able to do without Duke Miles and Frankie Collins in the lineup, 2 of their 3 ball handlers, both guys that average over 4 assists a game. I mean, the real appeal of them was that they had dynamic guard play. Besides Tyler Tanner, they really haven't had that, and they've still found a way to win. Without them, they're 4-1 without them. I mean, Byington has done a tremendous job. He should be up for National Coach of the Year, and I don't know that I exactly thought I'd be saying that going into the year.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, the other day they beat Texas A&M. Tanner gets the tech and gets his 4th foul, and they're basically playing with no guards, and they're still hanging against a team that presses, and it's like, man, pretty impressive stuff. But you mentioned those 2 guys, Joey, Duke Miles, Frankie Collins. Mark Byington's answer after the game the other day was interesting to me because it's obviously sounds very different with the 2 guys. Duke Miles,
right?
He's expected back soon. He had his knee cleaned up. I don't know. You tell me. It just seems to me like back for the Tennessee game would make sense. Meanwhile, Frankie Collins, it's been an interesting situation. I mean, look, everybody's minds go to sometimes players get hurt now in this era, and it's like, well, shut it down and you can have another bite at the apple. And I don't know that that's happening here, but that's an obvious point of speculation. You also tweeted something last night where Frankie Collins, I guess, posted somewhere about a positive development. So what is your expectation with those 2 situations?
Yeah, first Duke Miles, which honestly I think is the more important one right now just because I think he gives them a different dimension. I think Frankie Collins helps, but I think Duke Miles, just off the bounce ability, makes them a different team and a more dynamic team. I'm thinking Tennessee is probably somewhat of a realistic expectation there. Mark Byington said a week or 2 ago that he was back to jogging. I expect Duke Miles to be back at some point soon, like we had said. The Frankie Collins situation, like you mentioned, really odd at this point. Mark Byington has been very vague throughout essentially his entire time addressing the injury right away. He just said lower body injury, didn't put a timeline on it. Turns out the timeline was 2 to 4 weeks. I think we're at 8 weeks now, and Frankie Collins has practiced. And I also think there's some context missing there. Frankie Collins did practice a few weeks ago. And from what I understand, there was some sort of setback. I believe it related to some swelling in his knee, which I think is pretty common with that type of thing. The expectation I have is not that he's going to shut it down for the year, but I mean, you never know at this point. There is incentive for him to shut it down and get an extra year of eligibility, make some more money. But from what I understand, that's not necessarily Frankie's intention right now. But I mean, we'll see. You're right. It is interesting how Mark Byington has been so vague addressing Frankie Collins' injury, and even has had maybe some backhanded comments in the direction of the recovery, or maybe not as Frankie directly, but just kind of how the process is played out. But I mean, they're a different team if they have both of them. They're much stronger defensively in the backcourt with them. And Mark Byington's teams have always been better with 2 point guards. With Duke Miles and Frankie Collins, he's got 3 guys who can handle the ball and play out of ball screens. I mean, that makes them a very different team than what they are right now.
Well, Joey, let's play that out. Let's say they get those 2 guys back. How dangerous is this team come tournament time in your mind?
Yeah, I think their 3-game losing streak a few weeks ago taught us that they're a little bit matchup dependent. I think they struggle with teams that can get their bigs in foul trouble. I think they're a little less deep in the front court than they initially thought they would be. Mason Nicholson, the Jacksonville State transfer, I expect to be done for the year with some extenuating circumstances there. And I mean, you're really left with Jalen Washington playing the 5. He's the only real true 5 besides Jaden Leverett, the freshman, who frankly isn't ready to play NCAA tournament minutes right now. And then the idea was Devin McLaughlin would be able to slide to the 4. I don't know if that's going to happen, but like we had mentioned, the guard play is dynamic and they run good actions. I think they have an identity. They know how to win. They always seem to make plays late in games. So if I'm a Vanderbilt fan, I'd be a little worried if they ran up on a team like Texas where their bigs are really prone to getting other bigs in foul trouble. But I don't know if there's a whole lot of a ceiling on them right now, just because Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles as a backcourt, it's just so dynamic. And on any given night, they can outplay the other team's guards. And as you guys know, it's a guards game in March and April.
No doubt about it. So we've talked a little bit big picture today, Joey, about, Tennessee. Obviously, it's Tennessee Vanderbilt week, so the programs moving forward and things like that. As you look at Mark Byington, what he's done, which obviously has been tremendous. Like you said, I mean, he should be a National Coach of the Year candidate. Do you think he could be pried away from this job? Do you look at him as a long-term coach here? I know someone on our text line said, watch the NBA for him. I mean, I could certainly see him having success in the NBA. Like, how do you view Mark Byington and the long-term outlook for Vanderbilt?
Yeah, it's a question I've wrestled with a lot over the last year or so. I think last cycle there was some traction around the Virginia job, and I don't know that that was necessarily entirely one-sided with Virginia being interested, but obviously it wasn't possible last year due to the buyout. This year, I don't know that there's going to be a job that opens that would be good enough for him to be interested in at this stage. I mean, Syracuse will open. Obviously, Kansas State's open. Providence is probably going to open as well. I just don't know that any of those are ones that he's going to leave Vanderbilt for at this stage, especially since the league is a little bit weaker, and it might be weaker next year, and maybe they could make a run again. But I don't know. I do think that if the right opportunity presented itself, he would have to listen. And I know Vanderbilt fans don't want to hear that, but let's say Kansas opens in 2 or 3 years. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be interested in something like that. And if they keep winning at the rate they're winning right now, I mean, I don't understand why he wouldn't be in the mix for it. So I don't know how long he's going to be on West End. I would imagine he'll be there next year, but I'm sure he'll be listening at some point if somebody calls. And if he keeps this up, I mean, Blue Bloods are going to call at some point. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, if you're Vanderbilt and it's a blue blood, it's a blue blood, right? I mean, you don't want him to even look at like a Providence and I think that at least they're in good shape there. All right, last thing for you, Joey, and we are totally overlooking the Missouri game, by the way, going right to the Tennessee game. But Jalen Carey, is this a thing? He goes to Tennessee and kind of has some comments and things like that. Is this a thing? Is this a deal? Is this a deal in the Vanderbilt locker room? Is this going to be chippy Saturday?
Oh, 100%. I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, if you listen to Tyler Nickel went on a live stream with Frankie Collins in the summer and was essentially saying as much. I think there's some real negative energy there between Vanderbilt and Jalen Carey at this point. I think his exit really rubbed a lot of people there the wrong way. I think maybe there's some sour grapes in the Vanderbilt program last year too about maybe his maturity level. I've always thought Jalen Carey has a good heart, but I mean there's some things that the Vanderbilt staff did not love that Jalen Carey did last year, and obviously his comments in the summer really riled them up as well. So I expect the student section to be all over Jalen Carey on Saturday, and expect it to be maybe the harshest Memorial Gym has ever been. It's truly going to be a sight to see, and if we know anything about Jalen Carey, he's going to be emotional, and that could be a great thing for him on Saturday, or it could be something that benefits Vanderbilt like it did when Malik Dia came back to town a few weeks ago. You're right. It's going to be a thing, and it's the story of Saturday, which is pretty hard to do when a good Vanderbilt team matches up with a good Tennessee team. That's how you know the magnitude of this thing.
Yeah, it's going to be spicy. Looking forward to that coming up on Saturday. Joey, thanks as always for your time, man. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. Looking forward to hopefully coming back.
Yeah,
Thanks, Joey.
Absolutely. Joey Dwyer does a great job covering Vanderbilt basketball for Vandy on SI. We'll have the Rob Rant coming up next. Take your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
102.5 The Game. You come for sports takes, you stay for gout updates.
And I promise I don't do drugs, but
Why are people still saying stupid crap like this?
I'm sickened either way. I'm just sickened.
It appears.
What's appear mean? It just means it's you dreamed about it, and that means it's there, or
We got to maintain our lower bodies a little bit better.
Are we going to wipe it every time? We ass, we in. We love, we ass.
I like that. Appears.
Pound sand to the University of Alabama. It is time for the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. You can check it out every morning here on the program, either the Rob Rant or the Rex Rant. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Joe, I'm going to go back to the well again today and complain about the NFL playing international football games. So it looks like, according to reports from your very outlet, The Athletic, that next season's NFL season is going to begin on a Wednesday. All right. So typically the NFL season goes Thursday night football, and the team that just won the Super Bowl is hosting the game, and they kick things off that way. And then we get right into the NFL season. Well, it looks like we're going to have two games during the week this year. Somebody's going to play on Wednesday. Somebody else is going to play on Thursday. And I guess they really haven't determined yet how that's going to go. So I guess we could have the Seahawks hosting a game on that Wednesday, and then the Rams and the 49ers playing in Melbourne, Australia on Thursday, or it could be the other way around with the Melbourne game happening first on Wednesday and then Seattle with the normal game like set up on that Thursday. So already we're just overpopulating the first week instead of the Friday that they've done the last 2 years playing a game in Brazil. Now I guess it's going to be Wednesday and Thursday. So I already don't like that. But I tell you what I really don't like about this. You know, we're getting so crazy with this. We got to go play all these games overseas part of this, which is not going anywhere, by the way. I mean, they're just going to play more and more of these overseas. You know what I really hate about this? You know, the NFC West was probably the best division in football last year. You had the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. You had the Rams, probably the second best team in the league. You had the 49ers dealing with a ton of injuries that found their way to double-digit wins in the playoffs. And yet, instead of playing one home game and one road game between the 49ers and the Rams get to host this game over in Melbourne in a divisional matchup and then have to go play in San Francisco later in the year. So San Francisco gets their nice little home game against the Rams. The Rams get to sit back and play their home game in Australia. Now, I understand the LA Rams, like, you know, we have seen playoff games that have been played in LA where I think they played the Niners. And the stadium, you looked around SoFi Stadium, you're like, wow, sure are a whole lot of San Francisco 49ers fans in here. Yeah. So I understand like the Rams don't necessarily have a great fan base when it comes to like some raucous home field advantage or anything. But I think it's so dumb that we're playing divisional games in these international games. I don't like the international games to begin with. I think it's stupid. I heard John Gruden talking about this last week. I understand what the NFL is trying to do. They're trying to grow their footprint and make more money, and they're going to do it and whatever. But just the football purist in me hates the fact that it's like, well, let's spend time going over 9 hours overseas over here to go play a football game and then come back and try to play another one the next week. I think that's really stupid, but that's a losing battle. I'm done fighting it. It is what it is. But can we at least have the good common sense to not play divisional games overseas? I thought we could probably have that, but I guess we can't. This whole thing just infuriates me starting next year.
No, that's a great point. It's like, I mean, the Rams, like next year, the Rams, they played the Bills. So it looks like they've got the Bills like the extra game. They also play. It's the AFC West. So yeah, have Rams Bills or have Rams Chargers be that game. That's a very attractive game. Then you don't mess with the divisional race, which is the best division in football. And you got three like legit championship contenders in that division. So now, yeah, they don't have the greatest home field, but it's still, they would absolutely prefer to play the Niners in LA in their stadium than, oh, here's your home game
in Australia.
Crikey.
It's unbelievable that we've allowed this to happen. As most people have pointed out, like, the idea of Wednesday night football just sounds insane. Like, let's go play on Wednesday. Let's start the season on Wednesday. Yay.
See,
Cool.
I will say that, like, by the time it comes, I'm like, oh, sweet, we got football tonight and we got football tomorrow. Okay, I'll take that. But I mean,
We're not that far away from like just having an opening week in the NFL. They're going to be like, here's the Monday game, the Tuesday game, the Wednesday game. We're just going to roll through the whole week.
Just like MLB.
Yeah.
You know, it's like game every
Well,
night.
there's football every day. How about that?
Yeah. But the Australia thing is also like, that is, I mean, this is not flying over to Germany or
No, that's
London.
a long way
far.
away.
That's far.
I mean, that is like
Whole
the
nother
next
day.
week. I guarantee
Whole
you,
different day.
like, we're going to watch this carefully, but like, I would bet against both of those teams the next week.
It says,
like,
that's the other thing. You're starting the season. So it's not like there's a bye week the next week. Now, I understand, like, if you start on Wednesday, I mean,
You have extra
theoretically, you
time.
get done, you had extra time to get back, but it's a 16-hour flight.
yeah.
That's a long flight.
Yeah, man. Like,
It's a lot of equipment to
Yeah,
take
it
that
is.
far.
like how much, I mean, to me, if I'm either of those teams, and maybe this has been reported, like I'm going like 4 or 5 days in advance, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
You're so messed up if you don't. I mean, you certainly they'll probably do about the same as the other one, so there's not any big advantage. Yeah, and then you get to come home and be completely turned around and messed up. I mean, yeah, like you said, like there's no point in complaining anymore with the international thing. Like it's going to happen. Again, it's like people who kind of miss the point, even like a Bad Bunny. It's like if you have one of the top artists in the world, then like that is the point. They're trying to hit all corners of the planet with the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, they're greedy and they've capped about as much of America as they can at this point. There's, I mean, in America, how else can it go up anymore as far as popularity, ratings,
It'd
money?
be hard.
So they got to find revenue streams elsewhere.
Well, they don't have to. Like they could also just be happy that they dominate the
Well,
world. But of
we
course
know
they're
that's
going
not
to.
gonna
Yeah,
happen.
well, of course we can't do that.
So their market
It's
value is international. They, NFL internationally has taken a back seat to most of the other ones, professional sports, even though it's the most popular here.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
I don't know. Like, yeah, what kind of impact is it making? I mean, we've had NFL Europe, that went away. Like they get good crowds at these games, but like, has it carved it all into the Premier League?
I mean, I don't know about that. Like, I know that there are like random people in Ireland who like root for the Titans, right? Like,
Sure.
It's in some ways, I guess, similar to how, I mean, there are all sorts of people around here that wake up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning and wander out there and watch the Premier League.
Get
right?
all
Like,
mad about
yeah.
Tottenham.
Yeah,
oh, my hot
exactly.
Spurs! Damn you!
Exactly.
Like,
So-
why do you care this much?
By the way, apparently this game that is either going to start on the Wednesday or the Thursday is going to be an 8:30 or 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time start, which would be 10:30 or 11 the next day in Melbourne. So in the morning. So
Nice. Like 11
early
nice
morning football. In
11
Australia.
a.m. SEC kickoff. Vandy, Kentucky. 11 a.m. on SEC Network.
And apparently they're trying to wrestle, like they're wrestling between the Wednesday and Thursday, because on the one hand, like if you gave the Rams and Niners the Wednesday game, it gives them more time to recover before the next week after the long travel.
Yeah.
But if you do it that way, then it changes the tradition of the defending Super Bowl champs opening the season. So they're debating back.
And how long is this tradition? 6 years?
I don't know.
Get out
It's
of
just
here.
that's apparently what they're trying to figure out here. But I guess we'll find out in May when they release the schedule.
Well, as long as we can't have any negative report cards on anybody in the NFL, everything is great. Everything is awesome.
Yep. Good stuff. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll take your reaction to that with the international game coming up in Melbourne. We'll get back into our basketball question of the day, which is which team, which programs, which school would you rather have for the next 5 years, Tennessee or Vanderbilt? All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5 The Game, presented by Green Ventures Landscaping, outdoor patios, landscaping design, lawn maintenance, and more. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
I wish you were turned while you were saying that. That would have been hard to say at the microphone, but because you just missed Mercy Miller, former TSU Tiger Mercy Miller, Masterpiece kid, putting an absolute dunk of the night on Iowa State. There's Kingston Flemings. See? Familiarize yourself. Kingston Flemings. College hoops.
Where does he rank on the freshman list in your mind?
Well, everybody's sitting here, top 3 picks. AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, and obviously Cameron Boozer. And I'm telling you, some of this is whoever has the number 1 pick. If your primary need is a point guard, sometimes you just have to take the best, right? I think he's good enough that he should be listed there. I think that Kingston Fleming should be listed with those guys. Now you're going to watch him slip here on what could have been the winning play. Still got the ball to his guy, but they missed. I think he's that good. He's incredible, man. And he this is like subtle things. He like grabs guys in the huddle and is like, this. He's out there like as a freshman doing that stuff. He's going to be a hell of a player in the NBA. He's got everything you need. So I think that he should be considered because DeBonsa is a wing. Peterson really is a 2. And, obviously he's had the injury stuff and all that, everything. But, and then, Boozer is a forward. If you need a point guard, and there's great ones too. I mean, Darius Acuff from Arkansas he's going to be great too. But Kingston Flemings, I'm telling you, man.
So
I'm a believer.
So our question that we've thrown out there today, from a basketball standpoint, so take football and baseball and all this other stuff out of it, just basketball. Which school would you rather be for the next 5 years? Is it Tennessee or is it Vanderbilt? And the way I kind of framed this earlier, like if you want to go by recent success to try to project forward, well, it's not close, right? Like Rick Barnes and Tennessee men's basketball have clearly been the best out of those 4 programs. So when you're talking men's team, women's team at Tennessee, men's team, women's team at Vanderbilt, I mean, Barnes has clearly had the best run here. Now you're talking Kim Caldwell being in her 2nd year at Tennessee. Shea Ralph has had to basically build that program back from the ground up over at Vanderbilt. They're very well could be a 1 seed this year in the NCAA tournament. So we'll see on that front. And then obviously, as we just discussed a few minutes ago with Joey Dwyer, Mark Byington done an outstanding job on the Vanderbilt men's front this year. But no question, recently, Tennessee men's basketball has by far been the most successful of these options here. Now, how long is Rick Barnes going to be the coach, right? How much longer does Rick Barnes want to do this? What does Tennessee men's basketball look like when Rick Barnes is gone? Like, are they an attractive enough job now to attract high-level coaches from around the country? What is that going to look like? So those are things that we obviously don't know right now, but you're trying to project forward. Kim Caldwell, like what's that going to look like here in the next couple of years with the Lady Vols, right? Is she going to get that thing to where the Lady Vols are back to being an elite program? Or is it going to be basically what it's been since Pat Summitt was gone? And that is, good. At times they can put together a decent run, but not at the upper crust of women's basketball anymore. On the flip side, Shea Ralph, I mean, they're really good. I mean, they are right there on the short list of teams competing for a national championship this year. You have Michaela Blakes. You have Aubrey Galvin. You feel like, as long as something crazy doesn't happen, they don't leave, that you're going to have a pretty good foundation to compete for championships over the next couple of years here. And then there's Byington. What's that going to look like? Obviously, he's done a really good job now only in his 2nd year as coach as well. So, Joe, I throw this to you. When you're looking ahead here for the next 5 years, which school would you rather be in the basketball front, Tennessee or Vanderbilt?
I'm slightly giving the edge of Vanderbilt. And that is, we're doing all these programs. I just like the one, if these were stocks and it's like, okay, you have X amount of money and you have to pick one of the 4, and you have to put it all on that stock. I would push it into Vanderbilt women's basketball. Really like, obviously, what Mark Byington has done. As you said, Rick Barnes and that program have gone from, basically irrelevant. Bruce Pearl gets some credit too, right?
Sure.
I would say they were like largely irrelevant in the landscape. Bruce Pearl did what he did. Then you had a few wild years in between those two. But Rick Barnes has then taken it to another level to me than even what Pearl did. And it's just a remarkable job by him. But again, the future of him, the uncertainty of him, and the understanding that he's going to retire pretty soon is a huge part of this discussion. And then I just don't know yet with Kim Caldwell. I look at what Shea Ralph is doing and what she has. And, this is another thing, like with women's basketball, different than men's basketball. If you have a great player and you have a resourced program, you're going to keep that player. Because even if the WNBA would love Michaela Blakes, the WNBA does not pay well enough. So whereas in men's basketball, if you're going to be a high pick, you're going to go to the NBA. You're like, that's still certainly better for you financially than staying in college if you're a high pick. In the WNBA, no, you are going to play your college career out and make more money doing it. And so, barring something unforeseen, Michaela Blake's going to be here 2 years after this. Like, Vanderbilt is a national championship contender in those 2 years. And they are, this year, they're certainly a Final Four contender. And considering what I think they could be with the roster around her the next 2 years, that's part of the 5 years we're talking about, right? I can't look at any of these other programs and say, yeah, that team is going to compete for a national championship next year or the year after. I can say that with them.
Well, the interesting caveat on the Vanderbilt side of this is, as we talked about with Joey, is Mark Byington going to be there the next 5 years? Or, after the next year or two, if he keeps this up, does another team come call it, right? Like, does one of those blue blood teams come calling to try to get him? And we've talked about this with Shea Ralph. Like, Shea Ralph, as you just laid out, if you're trying to project ahead, like the future of individual teams, I think it's hard to make an argument right now that hers isn't in the best spot, right? Like, they're in a really good spot. But Gino Auriemma is 71 years old, okay? I have no idea how much longer he wants to do this. He could be coaching at UConn for another 10 years. I have no idea. But I would assume if and when that time comes where he decides to call it quits and they're having to look for somebody else, Shea Ralph's name is at least going to come up in the discussion. Now, she may not be the favorite. I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, but it's probably going to come up in the discussion given her history there. So is she still the head coach at Vanderbilt 5 years from now? There's no way to sit here and know the answer for sure on any of that. Rick Barnes could still be coaching at Tennessee 5 years from now. I have no idea. But that's part of the projection forward here is you're having to kind of push your chips in and think about how you think this is going to go.
Yeah. I definitely, for sure, any of those things could happen. I would feel better about Shea Ralph being the Vanderbilt coach in 5 years than Rick Barnes being the Tennessee coach. But you're right. Like, if she gets Vanderbilt to a Final Four, how could she not be the top choice there? I understand UConn could say, they could, we'll make a run at Dawn Staley. They're not going to get her because South Carolina they're not going to let anybody take Dawn Staley away. But, you could do that. But then who else are you? I think Kim Mulkey's probably about the end of the line. Still a really good coach. I think it's just the obvious thing. She won a championship as a player for Gino, assisted forever, and she's done incredible things in another program. I think they'd probably go all in on her. But does that mean she would take it? If she is in a situation here, and look, I'll tell you one huge difference between those two programs. It's funny because Danny Hurley was just complaining about UConn fans the other day.
I saw that.
But the one big difference is all that success, UConn gets incredible crowd. They have the best atmosphere. Really, I would argue, probably in the sport. I don't know. I don't know how it compares South Carolina now, and that is something that there's a lag here on that, and that needs to come around, in terms of, there's been some good atmospheres, but that would be one difference. But as far as, I don't know, resources and everything you need to win, it is harder in the SEC. You know, like there's more good programs. So, like, I guess at UConn, you have a clearer path every year. But I just don't like, does she want to follow like a legend and be compared to him when it's like you're never going to live up to that? Just like even if Holly Warlick was great at Tennessee, she was never going to live up to that. It's just a tough thing to do. So it'll be fascinating when it happens, because the way things are going here, she is going to be like, it should be their clear choice.
615-737-1025, our phone number. So that's the question we've thrown out there. Which school would you rather be for the next 5 years on the basketball front? Is it Tennessee or is it Vanderbilt? We'll take your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. I got some tickets to give away. A pair of tickets to see Sal Volcano at the Ryman Auditorium coming up Sunday, April the 12th. To caller number 2, 615-737-1025. Caller 2 will win a pair of tickets to see Sal Volcano at the Ryman Auditorium on Sunday, April the 12th. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe, the question we've thrown out there, which school, from a basketball standpoint, would you rather be for the next 5 years? Is it Tennessee or is it Vanderbilt? Now, Caleb on the text line says, I mean, this is laughable. It's Tennessee for sure. I think you and I have both chosen Vanderbilt in this discussion here.
There's some Tennessee fans who are maybe a little, I don't know about angry, but a little bit. I guess Caleb's not. He's a UNC Hoops fan, Tennessee football fan. Interesting combination, Caleb. But some Tennessee, Brandon on the YouTube chat's like, the only thing they'll be better in is GPA. I was like, I mean, Vanderbilt, correct me if I'm wrong, and at the risk of going from GB Joe to Vandy Joe, Vanderbilt has a better football team this year. They kicked Tennessee's ass in football. Vanderbilt has the better women's basketball team. They haven't played yet. Vanderbilt has the better men's basketball team, although that's getting closer, and we get 2 of those games, and we'll see. But, I mean, this is 1 year, sure, but then how would it be ridiculous to have this discussion?
Right.
Unless you're being intellectually dishonest.
Well, again, how much longer is Rick Barnes the coach? That's a big part of all of this too, is what's that going to look like? Now, Rick Barnes, I've said this kind of half jokingly, but we'll see. This is not clearly as good of a regular season Tennessee team as we've seen over the last couple of years here. What's that going to mean come tournament time? Like, it would be hilarious if this was the team that ends up breaking down the door, getting to the Final Four, given some of the teams they've had over the last few years here. But it's not impossible, by the way, that happens. Like, they are a good basketball team. So, like, the idea that, this Tennessee team being a 5 seed or whatever they're going to end up as can't make a run. I mean, they're good enough to make a run.
Oh, listen, there's no doubt. Now, I heard somebody in local media say they have mentioned they have the higher ceiling that they've had in recent years. That's ridiculous. Their ceiling when the year they had Dalton Hector was to win it all. I mean, I don't look at this team as having that high of a that kind of ceiling. Look, they would be on a 9-game winning streak right now had they not blown 2 games in Kentucky, and they did blow them. Like that happened. But if you took those games and they're 20-5, they're right there at the top of the SEC, and they're a 3 seed. So no, they are trending absolutely in the right direction. I mean, right now at KenPom, they're 19 at KenPom. So again, they look like about a 5 seed. The offense is still, it's high 30s. That's got to get better. The defense 16. That's not elite like it's been. But they have a guy who can get a bucket whenever he wants. They have a guard who's scoring. The freshmen are doing a little bit more. I mean, JP Estrella, I've always been big on him. And he's had all these injury issues, and he's starting to figure it out. And I'm telling you, man. I mean, remember, with that Connect team, I mean, Rick Barnes went to Estrella over Jonas Adu just because in that game, just because of, the matchup with our buddy Zach Edey. But he's a player with serious upside. So no, Tennessee, I like them as a second weekend team. Once you get to that weekend, I mean, it's a 2-game thing. They should not be dismissed this year.
Well, and then how good is Vanderbilt this year? We just talked to Joey Dwyer last hour. Like, how dangerous is this team come tournament time? And then what does that mean for Byington? Like, we have heard from people that are Vanderbilt fans today that say, I worry more about him going to the NBA than I do leaving for another team. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens on that front. If he continues to do the job that he's done here to this point, it's not going to be that long before one of these jobs, whether it's North Carolina or, Joey Dwyer mentioned Kansas maybe in a couple of years. One of these jobs are going to open up here in the not too distant future that's you would consider a blue blood. And he'll probably be on the list of people that they're interested in. Doesn't mean that he'll be at the top of the list, but he'll be on the list. So how attractive would that be? Like I said this earlier, like if you're Byington and like a North Carolina calls you, like you'd be insane not to listen to that, right? So how do you navigate that if you're Vanderbilt moving forward here?
Yeah, and this is a Vanderbilt and Tennessee thing. I did this story at Auburn with Stephen Pearl, and one of the things he told me is that, like, moving forward, the SEC coaches expect that they will overall get less of a chunk of the rev share than Big Ten coaches, ACC coaches, Big 12 coaches. Now, every school is different. You can go to any of these leagues right now. You can find a big range of payroll. But is that something that makes or if you're Mark Byington, Michigan State, Izzo's going to retire.
Yep.
Just like Rick Barnes here, probably the next 2 to 3 to 5 years. That's a team that I could see also being interested. Do these other leagues, because there's a little bit more emphasis on basketball, does that make a difference? Again, you can be within your league. Kentucky's not going to, like Kentucky, $20 million roster. Like,
they'll be spending money.
They'll spend the money. What is Vanderbilt? I mean, it's really interesting. Like, just look at the school. I think with Tennessee, we know, right? Like, when it comes down to, like, football has got to, and I know you are a strong advocate of that, and I don't disagree with you. Like, there's no way football can take a back seat. If you're Vanderbilt and you look at what these basketball programs are doing, but also this incredible year in football, that's an interesting thing too as we move forward. These coaches, they are essentially in these athletic departments, they're competing against each other for some of the same dollars too. And that's just a reality. Not that Tennessee fans should, be mad at Kim Caldwell because Tony Vitello left. That's not the thing. Please.
Well, maybe he's wanting to come back. He did not bring that up in his little rant that he went on yesterday at Giant spring training.
That's right. Yeah, he didn't mention.
He left that one alone.
Yeah, Danny White, had to buy Kim another wing to the facility and diamond plated, so I couldn't get I couldn't get a closer that I wanted. Yeah.
Well, I threw this out there earlier. Part of this also is the Lady Vols are in an interesting spot right now because look, Shea Ralph, to her credit, has come in and has built this Vanderbilt program up to the point where, you're looking at, the best player in the country and certainly one of the best backcourts in the country. And then not only now with that group, but projecting that out, what that's going to look like over the next couple of years here. And on the Lady Vols front, it's like, okay, ever since Pat Summitt's been gone, you kind of cycled through here. You had Holly Warlick, you had Kelly Harper. Now you got Kim Caldwell in there. And they have been at different times throughout that stretch good. They haven't been great. And one of the questions I threw out there earlier, are they going to be great again? Like, how long can you move away from that and not be that before the expectation, like with your fan base, has to shift? Because everybody still wants the Lady Vols to be what they were with Pat Summitt. And as I said earlier, it's like it's in some ways a completely different sport now, number one, and that's beyond the NIL stuff. It's just the growth of women's basketball. It's completely different. And then you factor in all the NIL stuff that goes along with it and the fact that it's hard to find another Pat Summitt. So how realistic is it that the Lady Vols are going to be able to consistently get back to the place where they're one of the handful of teams that you look at and say, yep, that's the face of women's basketball right there?
The only way is to just have one of the absolute best coaches. That program should have one of the absolute best coaches in the game. And look, this is where you just, you can get in trouble by wanting to, like, if UConn gets to the point where Gino retires because of what Shea Ralph has done here, okay, that makes sense for one of your. But the bottom line is, and look, I understand it was a tough thing with all of the things that went down with Pat Summitt at the end of her career, and the Alzheimer's and everything, and then you hand off to Holly Warlick. Like it made sense. The Kelly Harper hire that's the one where, to me, Philip Fulmer, it was a lazy hire. It was, she was a great player here. Let's go. She was a pretty good coach. She's a pretty good coach now at Missouri. She's fine. But that's where you're putting too much pressure on someone. And also, like, that's where you go out and say, who is the best coach in America? Because that coach should be coaching our school.
Right.
It doesn't have to be someone who played for Pat Summitt. Man, woman, who's the best coach? That's what should have been done right then. It wasn't done. And then Danny White has kind of gone on a little gamble here with Kim Caldwell. We'll see if it works out. But The answer is that it is. You have to go get, like, some people are talking about Kara Lawson, as the next coach, and it's like, and we'll see. I mean, she did get Duke to the Elite Eight last year. She's been very good there, but again, it's like, do you have to have a former Pat player? Like,
No, you don't.
You need to get away from that mindset. But yes, Tennessee, they'll never be the dominant team, I don't think, that like UConn and now South Carolina are in this sport, but they should absolutely be on the top. They should be on the top shelf. They should be competing for SEC championships. They should be competing for 1-2 seeds every year. Like all the things that support the program demand it.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll take more of your thoughts on Tennessee and Vanderbilt, plus back into some free agent conversation with the Titans, including a player that apparently could be out there that I did not think would be. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. The Chasing Big Joe show will be live today from noon to 3 at the Putting Zone, located at 3040 Sidco Drive. The Putting Zone creating the next great recreational sport, competitive putting, and it's taken off. So join Chasing Big Joe and sign up for your chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game tomorrow at the Putting Zone. Competitive putting. Sign me up.
Interesting.
I'll do it.
So we were talking about this off air, and Big Joe, in the ad was talking about 18 holes, par 72. How's that possible for putting?
It's a lot of putting. I don't know. I'd be interested to find out.
4 putting is par?
Where do you start?
Well, so is this through clowns' mouths? Like, what do we? What?
It's not
seems
putt-putt
difficult,
golf,
right?
so.
I would think that you would be expected to 2-putt, right?
Not on these.
It depends on where you start.
I mean, not chase.
It says
It's par 6 for chase.
dog legs on here, strategy,
Yeah.
certain zones.
Okay.
But
But
got to up your putting game, Joe.
But there's no way it's more than par 3, though, right?
Don't know. I mean, the par is 72. Yeah, there's got to be a few that's more than a par 3.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check it out. One quick point to make:
Texas wedge count. You can just sit back and hammer that thing.
Oh yeah,
Maybe so.
Bring that. See how that goes for you. Real quick point to make on the discussion too. We talked about Vanderbilt. They've got a good class. So next year they've got Olivia Jones coming in from Long Island, number 14, 5-star guard, 5'11", combo guard, and she picked Vanderbilt over Tennessee, North Carolina, Notre Dame. So that's a recruiting win for Shea Ralph. She's got momentum, and that is, you imagine her, we'll see. And you don't want to put expectations. Nobody thought Aubrey Galvin was going to be what she was going to be this year. She was not a huge recruit, but if you put another guard with scoring pop next to those two, might look pretty good.
So Adam Schefter put this out there this morning, Joe, and I found it interesting. He said it's unlikely that the Seahawks will use their franchise tag on Kenneth Walker. Said the Seahawks have multiple free agents. Obviously, they're going to try to get a deal done to extend with Jackson Smith and Jigba. They got, he says there are Super Bowl tax costs that now make using a franchise tag this offseason unlikely. Now, earlier today, he put out some franchise tag candidates, which you can begin applying your franchise or transition tags today through March the 3rd in the NFL. So we're going to start to see some of these tags and these names roll in. I mean, obviously, George Pickens is a prime candidate for that in Dallas. That's been reported that it's expected to happen at this point. I mentioned Kyle Pitts earlier in the show. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens with him in Atlanta. Now, Schefter put Daniel Jones / Alec Pierce as candidates for the Colts. So the Alec Pierce one would be interesting.
Would he be the most overpaid player in NFL history?
I mean,
on the tag?
He's a good player.
I mean, come on.
Good grief. You're going to give him the tag. So that'll be interesting to watch. But apparently, according to Schefter, he says it's unlikely that Kenneth Walker will be tagged. So, that tells me one of two things, Joe. Either one, they're very confident that they're getting ready to reach a long-term deal with Kenneth Walker and sign him to a contract, or they've taken the position of, we like Kenneth Walker, but if we lose him, so be it, to free agency here. So that one's going to be interesting to monitor here. If it plays out the way that Schefter put it out there, that the franchise tag on Kenneth Walker would be unlikely from the Seahawks point of view. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't totally understand if they're not going to tag anyone else, unless people are feeling really good about they're just going to have a deal. They're going to come up with a 2 or 3 year deal, and that's fine. They don't need to tag them.
Right.
I don't know why, if you're Seattle, you would mess with after Charbonnet got hurt this year. Kenneth Walker was so good all year. Yeah, Super Bowl MVP. But beyond that, he was a big part of them getting there. I don't know why you're messing with that formula. And the tag on a running back is peanuts. Anything on a running back is peanuts relative to Alec Pierce getting 30-some mil a year to play receiver for the Colts next year.
Wow. Alec Pierce is making a lot of money out there on the 1-year deal.
The highest paid Alec in NFL history. I'm confident in saying that.
Yeah.
Have there been any other Alex Can you guys anybody think of another Alec in the history of the NFL?
I'll tell you. Hold on.
Not off the top of my head. Sure, there's one somewhere.
There's all.
I was going to say Alan Faneca, but that's Alan.
Alec Ingold.
Alec Ogletree, Alec
Oh, yeah.
Ingold, Alec Anderson, Alec Gibson, Alec Sofish, Alec I mean, there's all.
I've heard of two of them.
1921,
fullback from the Dolphins.
1931, 1939, 1987. And then you get into more recent times of 2024.
You
with
just
Alec
don't see the
Lindstrom.
name Alec a lot. So
No, not a
anyway,
ton.
congratulations on being the richest Alec of all time.
Yeah.
Sean Connery, where are
Possibly.
you when you need him? Trebek.
I'm going to assume Alec Baldwin has made more money than Alec Pierce will this offseason.
That's a rich Alec.
Yeah.
Wide receivers, 28 mil for the cap. For the tag.
28 mil for Alec Pierce.
Amazing. Like, there's no way, right? Like, there's no way. Will they tag Daniel Jones? That probably makes the most sense, right?
47.4.
Do you want to
for
give
quarterback.
that money to Daniel Jones coming off a Achilles and a tibia? I know it's for 1 year, but
That's a good question. I mean, that's where it does get interesting with some of these other QBs out there. You know, I heard sportsmen like that talking about the Mac Jones trade possibilities.
Yeah.
You know? Someone going to go out there and give up something serious for him to come in but I mean, like a lot of these guys are not going to work out like that. But Daniel Jones did. There's demonstrated success there, and they're built right now to win. They just went in and paid a lot for a corner to win now. So yeah, I don't know. Like what's his timeline on even being back?
man, they were riding
I
so
missed
high.
that. I missed that.
And then it just completely fell apart on him. I mean, if you could like double up Alec Pierce's receptions, he'd have like one of the greatest years in NFL history, right? Like, I mean, he had 1,000 yards on 47 catches. That's 21.3 a catch. I mean, that average is outstanding.
That is absurd.
It's kind of ridiculous,
That's an
right?
absurd number.
So, if you can find a way to get him the ball more at close to that average,
94 to 2. If he's getting 94 for 2,000, I'm definitely paying him 28
yeah,
mil.
he'll get 28 mil.
I'd gladly pay him 28 mil. Yeah,
I mean, I think
he's a threat, man. He's a vertical threat.
Yeah, but that kind of shows you he's a vertical threat that, that was his career high in catches for a season. It's 47, and you're talking about 84 targets, which tells me that they're throwing the ball down the field to him a lot, which is great. Like it's nice to have that threat, but like your complete receiver that can do all of it, I don't know that he's that, right?
No.
By the way,
he's not.
I'm not saying
receiver.
I'm not saying the Titans can't use him.
Sure.
And shouldn't be interested in him because I think they could, but I'm just saying he's like your deep threat guy. Clearly, I mean, he averaged. It's not just 1 year, by the way. In 2024, he played 16 games and he averaged 22.3 reception. So the last 2 years, he's averaged 22.3 a catch and 21.3 a catch. That's what he is.
That's man. I mean, even obviously, yeah, you want more volume, but to have that average, even in the 40s of catches, is
insane.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
That's like those are like dominant college player numbers. That's so no, he would be worth pursuing for sure. I just can't believe they're going to tag him, but I don't know.
And by the way, like for reference, Randy Moss, his rookie year, averaged 19 yards a catch, and that was the best. In Minnesota, he flirted with that number a couple of times. He had 18.7 in 2000, which is just a ridiculous number. Like in 07 with the Patriots, he averaged 15.2 a catch. It's a good number. 22?
Yeah.
21.3? And again, I'm not comparing Alec Pierce to Randy Moss. I'm just saying that's the deep threat that he is. So clearly, the Colts' strategy was, hey, Alec, you run down the field. We're going to try to get you the ball.
Yeah, and to have that kind of production and volume is impressive. Like that average is like, it's like, Khalif Raymond with 11 catches in a year for the Titans or whatever.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So if Kenneth Walker makes it to free agency, are you interested in that? If you're the Titans, like, are you interested in paying? And I understand it's a running back, so it's not going to be that much money. But are you interested in, for relative terms, paying a premium price for a running back this offseason if you're the Titans.
Sure. I mean, this is where cap space comes into play, right? Where it's like, yeah, I mean, if you have a proven really good player who's going to change your offense for the better, sure. It's not, I mean, relative to everything else, it's cheap as hell.
Yeah.
I'd be 100% be in those discussions.
Well, and by the way, like I know everybody's just assume that, the NFL is moving further and further away from being a running back league. I would remind you, it was a couple off seasons ago where you had Derrick Henry go to the Ravens. We saw what an impact that made. You had Saquon Barkley go to the Eagles. Sign that deal. We saw what an impact that made. You had Josh Jacobs go from the Raiders to the Packers. Had a great year. And that was all in one offseason. Now, I understand that's not going to happen and line up that way every offseason, but that goes to show you that if you sign the right one, they can still have pretty good impact on your team.
Hugely important. It's just that, the shelf life is short, but to have a great running back it'll never not matter in the NFL. Again, the Lions, as pathetic as their season was, as some people predicted it would be, still, like, where would they be without Jahmyr Gibbs?
Barry Sanders 2.0 from what they say.
Well, yeah, probably something Corey says. Yeah, doesn't have those negative losses like Barry did.
Doesn't have anywhere near the amount of negative runs.
That's right. He must be better.
Register today for Stars Trivia Night at Boomba's in East Nashville this Thursday night. It'll be a night full of fun, food, prizes, all while supporting Stars Nashville, a nonprofit providing free mental health support for students in over 200 schools across Middle Tennessee. For more details and to find out how to register, visit thegamenashville.com/events. A couple more of your thoughts to get to on the NFL free agency front for the Titans. We'll do that next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Final segment of the day. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Joe, we went through some free agent edge rushing names earlier. Some interesting guys out there. I mean, a lot of the edge rusher class, in terms of the notable names, are older, right? Like, you've got Joey Bosa out there. Trey Hendrickson is out there. I mean, Bradley Chubb, even he'll be 30 next year. And it will be his second year coming off of the ACL. He had 8.5 sacks this past year. I mean, I'll admit, Bradley Chubb is interesting to me. I'd probably look into that if I were the Titans. There's a lot of guys on this list that I'd probably look into. I mean, I feel like Leonard Floyd's been a free agent a billion times, but he's a free agent again coming up this year. So
coming up on 34, man.
He is.
See, I'm less enthused about guys like that.
Yep. But there's, you mentioned a bunch of names earlier that are in the mid-20s that maybe have not had that just incredible breakout year, but have shown enough flashes, have been productive enough where you can take a look at those guys. And the interesting thing is, again, to me, how are the Titans going to attack this? Because you do have the number 4 overall pick at your disposal here. There will be at least one, what we assume to be, good edge rushing option on the table for them there, assuming, Mendoza goes number 1 overall, the Raiders. One of Bailey, Reese, and Bain are going to be there for the Titans if they want them at number 4. So how does all that factor in? You could do both. You could draft one at 4. You could go sign one in free agency. You also have a second-round pick that you used last year on Femi Oladejo that I would assume factors into this discussion at least to some degree.
You sure hope so.
Do on that front, like that, how they handle in terms of their plan of attack addressing edge rusher this offseason, maybe the most intriguing storyline to me of the whole team.
Yeah, and I think your plan of attack should be to shoot high. Now, as high as a Trey Hendrickson, that might be a little much given where you are.
And he makes me a little nervous anyway.
Yeah, I'm with
coming off the injury and he'll be 31, 32 next year. And the amount of money that somebody I think is going to pay him, he makes me nervous.
Yeah, he's going to be pushing the mid to high 20s. That to me, he's a short term. We can win it all this year signing. Yeah, that's obviously not the Titans. But yeah, and I'm a little like Mac and some of these older guys. You mentioned Floyd. I'm a little sketch on that. But some of these guys in there, the Bosa's, I don't know. Some of these guys in their mid-20s how good is Malcolm Kuntz from the Raiders? No one ever talks about anybody on that defense except for one guy. But what about him? Gross Mato. That is right? That is Gross Mato is right? It's not Gross Matos.
Gross Matos.
Gross Matos.
Damn Matos. That's what it is. Why do I always do that?
Well, we went through it many times in the draft process in his year, and I think at one point people were calling him Gross Matos.
So I think I have a foot thing. Do we have Rex Ryan? Someone saw Rex Ryan at the Green Hills Mall the other day and texted me about it.
Good.
I'm like, wow, he lives in Nolensville. Why is he going way over there? Joseph Asai, Joe Tryon. These are a lot of, Ojulari. These are a lot of guys who Chason has been good, and he would be a higher ticket item, and there's going to be a pursuit for him. But I'm mentioning guys in their 20s who, do you see something with some of these guys? And again, some of them you're not spending a lot of money, but where you think you could have a few decent years with them. I'm all for, first of all, shooting as high as you shooting high. But that's the thing when you talk about strategy. A lot of teams have strategies. They're like, crap, he signed with that team. So then what do we do? You have to be ready to pivot. I'd like to see the Titans sign a couple guys in free agency.
Yidor Gross Matos. There you go.
It is Matos. Okay.
Matos.
Is that what you just said?
That's what he said.
Sort of.
Kind of. Matos.
Gross
sure.
Matos.
All right. We may need to practice. He may be a Titan.
What's he done?
He was with San Francisco.
He was with San
right?
Francisco, so
and Saleh.
Maybe Saleh loves him.
Yeah, so there you go. So and it's not like he's been a big difference maker, but could he be a rotational guy and make you better? They need a lot of help.
Let's say you don't have to sign, exclusively superstars. Now he did have 0 sacks in 8 games this past year.
Okay.
Only played in 8
I don't
games,
like
huh?
either of those stats.
He did have 4 sacks the year before that for the Niners in 11 games. So,
but that
there
is
you go.
maybe there is okay, I know this guy can play. He's a pro. He's about to be 28. Sure. Let's see. I mean, you're talking about a guy making 9 and he's projected to make 3.5. That kind of tells you it's not going in the preferred direction.
We spent a lot of time on gross mottos today. Didn't anticipate that happening on the show today. I love it when sometimes we get thrown a curveball.
You never know, because that draft, whatever that draft was, we definitely
Yeeter gross mottos. What?
For some reason we really delve into foot things way too often on this show. I don't know. Maybe we need to have Rex on.
There we are again with we.
What? I'm not the only jackass here. I'm mostly the only jackass. 95%.
On that note, we are done for today.
Not 100.
We will be back 6 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you for the Titans for bringing goodies by the studio today.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Scones.
We'll see you tomorrow. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.